Happy Monday, and it's been about 3 weeks since I've dropped an episode. This week it's going to be a little different. I'm just going to go into a catch up, and we're doing the bare minimum today because we are also talking about my updates with 75 Hard, how I feel low key like a failure, and how that has unraveled this whole mental drama over my own burnout, or what I think burnout is, and having a very type A personality. So this week's episode, we are going over those three things: updates on 75 Hard, what burnout actually is, and how it affects our day to day and our progress on moving forward, and being a type A person who is very independent, sets herself at a high standard, and how those two things collaborate for your own self-doom and downward spiral along the way. So you guys know I'm going to make it light and fun, and we're going to have a little laugh along the way. But, there might be some tears also. I have been struggling mentally. And just doing the most, but feeling at the end of the day like there's so much more that can be done. So I want to talk about it. Welcome to this week's episode of Girl Stop Talking. Let's go.
Girl, stop talking. All the shit that people are thinking but not saying. I'm not even drunk. I've just been drinking. Hey bitches, are you ready? Are you still talking? Girl, stop talking.
Happy fucking Monday, bitches. I am so sorry it's taken me so long to get back and record an episode. I have to just come in here and be so honest. It feels like pulling fucking teeth to get this done. I have really deeply been struggling with my own mental BS that I feel quite literally paralyzed by my own bullshit. And that's all it is, because nothing has actually changed, other than my perspective. And I deeply love sharing and doing long form content and having this show. And there's so many new people that are subscribed to the YouTube. And when I get into these phases, I procrastinate and push it off because I don't feel like myself. And I'm like, how can I show up and do this show when I don't feel like myself? And I know you guys know this, right? Sometimes it is worse to fake it, and it actually makes you feel worse. I think there has been so many times in my life where I've whipped on a smile and just faked it till I made it, and got through the day or whatever. But something about where I'm at in my life right now, truly, I think at peace and aligned with who I want to be and who I am as a person, when it comes to feeling like I have to fake anything, I feel like it goes against my core values as a person. And so then I just go into this spiral of, procrastinating, knowing I'm procrastinating, not getting it done, and then feeling like you guys are counting on me, wanting to hear from me, wanting to get some of your fun girl time in, and I apply so much pressure to make that happen that I feel like I am stuck in the mud and I physically can't move forward. And that's what this feels like right now. I think making a point to call it out in the beginning is the best thing that I can do, because I want to laugh and I want to have a good time, but I'm struggling to do that. So of course I'm going to bring the fun and the advice and the perspective into this show, but it's going to be probably a little different than the beginning of this year. I am coming to you from my room. Hello. We haven't been here in a while. The studio is under construction a little bit. I'm working on really making it a legit studio with lighting and more stuff in the background and whatnot. So my lighting is down. We had to come sit in front of a window where the lighting is good. And I felt like for the last couple of weeks, I'm like, what the fuck am I going to talk about when all I'm doing is crying and sleeping? I'm just crying and I'm sleeping and there's nothing going on. And it finally clicked to me. One of my girlfriends, I was talking and crying to her on the phone, and she asked me, like, well, do you think you're burnt out? And this isn't something that, like, crossed my mind until she said it. And then I'm like, I don't know. Like, I don't know why I feel like this. And you know those moments where you're just like, I don't know why I'm sad, but you just keep crying. And then someone's like, how are you? Oh my God. And you're like, blah! And you're just like sobbing, and then you just don't want you don't want to like be around people, you don't want to reach out to people, you don't want to talk, you don't even want to like talk to people because in that moment the only thing you're going to do is probably start crying. That is how bad it got. And then my friend started listing off some of the symptoms of how she feels when she's burnt out, and I was like, wow, well, you really just hit it hard. I guess maybe I am burnt out, but it still didn't help the fact that I felt like I feel like I can't get out of it. And I asked you guys on my Instagram, like, what do you do to cope with your burnout? And we're going to read through some of those later once we get into our little catch up and conversation for the day. But I figured, why not start here, catch you guys up on how I got into this position, because I know I'm not the only one dealing with this. You know how many fucking people wrote in to my Instagram story? Most engagement I've gotten in weeks. Okay? It's clearly a relatable topic, and I had to sit back and ask myself, like, how did I get here? You guys, if you've been following along, the beginning of this year has been insane. I started 2 new businesses in December at the same time while I work my day job, while I was doing weekly episode drops for the podcast. I am the host, the creator, the editor, the social media manager, and I was doing all this posting nonstop on my socials. Before I went on vacation, I felt the most aligned with what I wanted to do than I ever have before. 75 Hard was going good. I did a full month before my vacation, knowing I was going into this trip and I was going to take a break and then jump right back into it. I attempted to do so, and then I ended up getting sick. Since I had been sick, I have been in a deep downward dog spiral. And I haven't done anything. And some of this came, I've literally feel like I'm so sick and tired of being in bed and feeling fatigued and being exhausted. I have had the most debilitating fatigue and exhaustion that I can't, that's the only thing I'm doing. I'm sleeping like 10 hours a night and I'm taking naps during the day. And at first it was because I was sick, and then it just has continued. On top of this, I did try to jump back into 75 Hard, and I was doing all the things. I ended up doing, let me see, I have it on my calendar right here. I think I ended up doing like 35 days. I just started where I took off. I started where I stopped, whatever, you know what I mean? And I have the Aura Ring, which has kind of been like a lifesaver. It tells you a lot about like what's going on with your body. And it just kept telling me that like I was, had signs of something going on in my body, that my stress was really high. And not to mention this whole last week, I have been up on my scale weight. I'm physically retaining water, and I know because my ring almost doesn't fit on my finger anymore. I'm having headaches, I'm still fatigued, and after looking up some of these symptoms of what burnout looks like, along with just high stress in the body, it's all kind of aligned. So I had to come to the realization that 75 Hard was doing more harm for me in this moment than it was helping me achieve my goals and getting me to where I wanted to be. Now, that was really hard for me because that made me feel like I failed, okay? And the last failure that I had, I also had a mental spiral for a couple of days. And that was, I don't even know if I talked about that. I Oh yeah, I did. If you know, you know. I wanted to be a trainer at this place and it went fucking horribly wrong, and we looked at that as a learning lesson instead. But I had so many people asking me like, how's it going? How's 75 hard going? I was fully committed and I felt so good. So it was really hard for me to feel like, why can't I just get back there? And the flip side, because I had felt like I failed, I felt like I was cheating if I continued to just move forward without starting over from day one, because that's their rules. If you miss one day, you start all the way over. And I like to be able to prove that I can do hard things, and I think I had to really recognize, like I said, that I know I can do hard things. And is this aligning with my goals? Am I able to keep up with my life and the things that I want to do? Or is this causing like more mental, like of my own mental abuse to myself right now, just to say that I did it or I continued or look at me, like I did finish it? Like, where is this coming from? And that was really hard to admit. So I'm admitting it here now. I'm done with 75 hard. I'm not going to be working out twice a day, lifting 5 days a week. And if you want more information on that, please comment wherever you listen, and I can give you more inside information if you're curious. But I don't want to go down the workout fitness rabbit hole, because that's not always what we come here for. I'm getting myself back on track to a normal schedule, and I'm pretty much aligned with doing a lot of these healthier habits in a way that is actually going to be healthy for myself. At the end of the day, it was causing mental stress, my own mental abuse, like emotional abuse to myself, and it was causing like physical stress and harm to my body to be able to continue. And I don't want to promote a crazy all-in challenge as like, look at me, I can do it, as this like fake alternative to giving inspiration to people, when I'm actually, my mental load is declining, my physical load is declining. So I'm here to keep it real with you guys. And if you have any questions for me regarding the 75 hard and my thoughts more of how I feel, let me know in the comments. I could do a deeper episode of the whole experience if that's something you're interested in as like a bonus. Just let me know where you stand, girl. But other than that, I want to go into how this realization and decline of this crazy mental load has spiraled into this full form 3-week burnout of just mental fatigue, sleeping all the time, not being able to do the things that I say I'm going to do, and what that looked like for me, how it affected me, and how it's been affecting you guys. We're going to go over what you wrote in on how to cope with burnout, what burnout looks like. And then I also wanted to compare it to like being a type A person and personality, and how these two things, when they link up, they are quite literally rooting for your downfall. Okay. Type A personality and burnout is like a match made in hell. And I have a very interesting take, because this is what's going on in my brain, and I know I can't be the only one. I feel like over the last like 10 days or so, I've felt so low and not seen and supported by people, I guess. And it's not even like those people aren't there and aren't supporting me, but this is how I was like speaking to myself, because of how much pressure I put on myself to thrive and show up and do the things that I say that I'm going to do. And I know I can't be the only one, and that's literally why we're talking about it. So let's move into this next segment of the episode. It all came crashing down once I got back from my vacation. I was fully on. I was showing up every day. I had 6 million things going on, and I was like so in my zone that I thought nothing could stop me. I was doing 75 hard. I was lashing. I was supporting 7 other girls in my fitness business. I was doing the podcast every week, clipping, editing content, posting it, had everything scheduled. I was showing up online every day, stories, reels, posts, like all of these things. And I felt so in the zone. I felt so good about myself. I felt like this high achiever, like I was getting all the things done and I was like on a high. I felt high on life. And that feeling is so true, okay? I go on my vacation, I come back. I have about 2 days after the vacation and then I get sick. This should have been the first sign, right? Because a lot of the times when we get sick, it's because we have a weakened immune system. Our body's like physically telling us you need to slow down. This sickness that I've had hasn't been the first time either. I'm noticing like a pattern, and it'd be interesting to like look back and see what else was like going on in my life at the time. And it's something I might start to document now. But I self-diagnosed myself with long COVID because that's the only thing that makes sense to me. I get debilitating fatigue. Like I cannot describe it any other way, and a headache. It's 4 days of I cannot get the fuck out of bed. I'll like get out of bed, try to put the dishes away, and then I'm like, I think I need to take a nap, and I'll sleep for another however many hours. If you follow me on Instagram, you probably saw my post. I did some math, and in the 3 days that the diva was down, I slept 58 out of 72 hours. I was only awake and alive for 14 hours in the span of 3 fucking days. That's insane. How does one even sleep that much? Anyways, so I get sick. And then after I get sick, I'm still just fatigued. I get back to going into the gym. I'm trying to show up to do my 75 hard, and I am sleeping 10 hours at night. I'm getting good sleep. I'm tracking my food. I'm back in the gym. I'm back to my normal schedule. But then it actually started to get worse in the sense of the fatigue wasn't going away. I would wake up with headaches every morning. My Aura ring was telling me, girl, something is going on. There's something going on with you. But in my mind, I'm like, I should be good. I should be going back. I'm in my routine. I'm going to the gym. I'm getting these things done. And then the spiral gets even fucking worse. Then the tears come. Then the loneliness sets in, where to this point where I'm like, I feel quite literally paralyzed by my own bullshit. Like nothing has actually changed other than my perspective. My perspective changed because I was feeling guilty for not showing up, for being out of town and then sick for the total of like almost going on 2 weeks. I hadn't posted an episode, and it felt like not only like I wasn't showing up for myself, but I applied so much pressure on like showing up for other people. But I also like tie like my success to my identity. Like I'm such a happy person most of the time. And so when I get into these funks, I just feel like it's hard to talk about. It's hard to like even reach out to my friends. Like, what am I supposed to say? Like, hey, I'm feeling like shit. Can you call me? It's almost like those times where you just wish people would check on you because you don't want to have to like say how you're feeling and go out of your way to tell people that you feel like shit and there's no apparent reason. And I was just starting to spiral in those moments. And even with the show, like I am so happy and proud of myself when I get a show out every week, do the clips, schedule everything. I'm able to like grow. Like the podcast is really starting to grow, of course, like get a little bump in engagement and subscribers online. And then I literally just go down like a dark hole for 3 weeks and I apply all this pressure. And I think like a lot of us can feel related, like can relate to this, we apply this pressure of like how we need to show up for people, what we think people, how we think people expect us to show up for them. And I applied so much of that on myself that I felt like I couldn't do anything. I like to call it like paralyzed by my own bullshit. I felt stuck in the mud. Like I know what I need to do to feel better, but it physically feels like I cannot do it. And I spent the last week basically just telling myself, like, you need to just focus on one thing at a time. Like, I have my responsibilities. If my responsibilities are done, we're going to call that a win. If you're feeling okay, you can do one more thing. That's it. You call it a win. And sometimes we really just have to go back to the absolute basics. We can't, even though we have a list of things, time will like literally just keep going on. Time is not going to stop, and we have enough of it to get done what we say we're going to do. And I know it's like so much harder or easier said than done, because I'm like saying this right now and I'm like, Tatum, this is bullshit. Like, if someone would have said this to you last week, you'd be like, yeah, whatever. But I think I'm like saying all this because I was genuinely confused on like what was going on with me and what was wrong, because it didn't feel like anything was wrong other than I was really sad. And I think some people would look at these situations and like these symptoms and be like, "Oh, like you must be depressed." I don't really align with that. I've never been like a depressed person, and I know you can go through like situational depression and something. I like to call it situational sadness, because it never really lasts long enough to feel like depression. And for me, like I was still functioning. Like, I'm still showering every day. I'm still going to the gym. I'm going out and taking walks, and I'm still showing up for myself, but I hold myself to this such a high standard that when I'm not doing the extra 20,000 things, I like literally, and it's like embarrassing for me to even say this out loud, but like I felt like a loser. I'm like walking around and like talking to my mom on the phone, and I have all these things, and I can look at them from the outside perspective. Like everything that I just said, I can take myself out of the situation and be like, I know I'm doing all the things to make me feel good. I'm eating right. I'm keeping up with my schedule. I'm getting outside. I'm moving my body, and I'm still showering. Like, all these things are happening. But because I'm not being active online every day, because I'm not doing the podcast for the last 3 weeks, I literally felt like a loser. I'm like, what are you even doing? And then I went into this whole spiral of like, is it even worth it? Like, this is so stupid to think that you could like be an online personality and this could be your career. And the spiral just kept fucking going until I called my best friend on the phone. Bring. And she's like, well, like, do you think you're burnout? And I'm like, I don't know. What does that mean? Like, what is burnout? And she listed off all of these symptoms, like, self deprecation and feeling lonely and crying for no reason and feeling overwhelmed getting tasks done, like not being able to feel like you're your normal person. I think when you're in those like sad phases too, sometimes it's harder to pretend to be happy. I'm like in a point in my life now where I am not like in survival mode anymore. And so that almost kills me more when people are like, "How are you?" And I'm just like, "Well, do you want like the real answer? Or do you want the PR answer?" Because it's not great. But it's almost like annoying too. And I get like annoyed with myself because some people ask you like, "Oh, how are you?" And then like, "Oh, what's wrong?" And then I'm like, I really don't want to sit here and talk about my problems. I'm like, I'll probably just start fucking sobbing. It helped knowing that. And this is like why I wanted to share and talk about this, because as someone who considers herself to be a very type A personality, I don't think it is talked about enough, and how wow, spit it out, Tatum, on how a type A person experiences burnout and what that looks like. Type A people are actually more prone to burnout because people with type A traits are high achieving, competitive, perfectionists. Sound familiar? And they're significantly likely to experience chronic stress and burnout. The reason for this is because of some of the things that I just shared in my most self-deprecating story that you guys are probably like, are we done talking about this yet? This can happen because of the constant pressure that we put on ourselves to perform. aka me showing up online and doing this podcast, we find it difficult to relax. Even at the point that I was at, girl, I was napping every day, sleeping 10 hours and taking naps during the day. And I'm like, what is wrong with you? But I think a lot of the times we're always looking at the next thing. You're like, I'll relax when I'm dead. I have 6 more tasks to complete before bed. And then our self-worth is tied to productivity. Pretty sure I laid that one down too. I feel better about myself when I get the things done that I say I'm going to do. So if you only feel valuable when you're doing something, you're already at risk. Number 2, okay, burnout doesn't stop type A people. It actually pushes them harder. You think we're going to stop? No, no, no. Instead of resting, type A individuals often overwork more, double down on control, and ignore the warning signs. This creates such a dangerous loop because it goes from stress to exhaustion. You push harder, you go deeper into the burnout because you're like, I can combat this. I'm going to go to bed early. I'm going to wake up early. I'm going to write my list out. I'm not going to be done doing my day until the list is literally checked off verbatim, verbatim, verbatim. And this can lead to a deeper and longer burnout. I also learned that depending on how long you burn out, it can actually take you quite some time to get back into, like, what is the opposite of burnout? Like, the opposite of burnout is being engaged. So I looked up some facts, which I think are so interesting. And it says recovering from burnout typically takes anywhere from a few weeks to several months or even over a year in severe cases. While minor exhaustion may improve quickly, burnout requires significant life changes and rest. Mild burnout is 2 to 12 weeks, and moderate burnout 3 to 6 months, severe burnout 6 to 2+ years. And it can take your body and your nervous system like double the amount of time just to get back into an engaged mode. And so it's really important when you start noticing some of these signs to like really ask yourself what's going on. It took my friend saying something and me looking up the definition of burnout and what that meant and like how I have been showing up for myself and kind of backtracking and thinking like, okay, what is everything that I've been doing over the last couple months? Also, it's crazy how like I actually before this happened felt the best I could have ever been. And it was almost like peak level high. And then crash, burn, low. It is not ideal to chase the highs and the lows, okay? We've already gotten out of our most toxic relationships, girl. The next one can't be you, okay? Third fact about type A's and burnout. A type A brain struggles to do nothing. Don't we? Don't you struggle to just do nothing? I know for me, at the end of the day, I'm like, my end of the day is to do nothing. So I'm going to do all the things that I feel like I need to do. And then I can sit and watch trash TV for 2 hours before I go to bed. Type A personalities often experience guilt when resting, even when they're tired, overwhelmed, and extremely emotionally drained. We always sit here and think, I should be doing more. And you know what is so crazy about that statement is I relate to this so much. I remember when I first started learning about mindset and getting into fitness and changing my lifestyle and all of that. I was in this program, and once you signed on for the program for like a full year of commitment, they sent you a journal. And this journal, like the part of the journal is to help with mindset and like having a deeper understanding of self, right? Journaling your thoughts, your feelings, like better understanding yourself. It's a therapy tool. That's just part of it. And I started doing these journal entries, and I'm just like looking at these entries and just so not relating at all. Like, it's like saying, when's the last time you didn't think you were enough? Or like, when's the last time you told yourself you loved yourself? And I just so deeply did not relate to this on another level. I ended up messaging my coach, and I seriously told her This is going to sound so fucked up. I told her, I was like, I'm not really understanding the journal entries. Like, I just feel like the entries aren't speaking to me. It's giving like broken energy, which sounds crazy. I know. But I just didn't relate to it because in my mind, as my type A self, I don't think I'm not enough. I've never thought that, like, I'm not enough. I don't resonate with that. I know a lot of people do. And, like, that is your story and your path to walk, you know? But in my mind, I experience you're not doing enough. And that is like, when I read these facts about like type A's and burnout together, that statement alone, you should be doing more, I should be doing more. I feel that so hard because that's what I say to myself. You're not doing enough. You haven't gotten to the place that you want to be yet. Like, you should be doing XYZ. You see all these other people, they made it, they're doing it. Why aren't you? Why can't you? Do you even care? Does it even matter? Like, and that's how I start spiraling with myself. You have to let me know, like, are we resonating with this? Because I know I can't be the only one. And I know my girls who listen to this show are probably like, burnout in type A people doesn't always look obvious because it's not always laying in bed, shutting down. It can look like still functioning, still working, still showing up. It's but internally we're exhausted, resentful, disconnected, going through the motions, cussing ourselves out, saying we should be doing more. We like tighten control and grip even harder because we're so desperately afraid to lose it. And I think it's interesting learning about all of this, and it's something that we should take note of. Like, it's okay to put the work down. It's okay to sleep in and not make it to the gym. It's interesting for myself because I actually started to realize, once I looked up the definition and understood like all these things that I was doing, I also realized that my weight has been up. My scale weight has been up like almost 6 or 7 pounds higher than when before my vacation. And I think I might have mentioned this earlier. I had so much inflammation in my body that like my aura ring wasn't fitting on my finger, which isn't normal. Like, my body is like physically telling me there are signs of things going wrong. And I'm like, all I need to do is get this stuff done. I just need to do the podcast. People are counting on me. People are waiting for me. They're waiting to see what I'm doing online. Like, I know the psychosis sounds so fucking crazy. But we have to check ourselves sometimes. I have to go back to the bare minimum. I'm like, are my responsibilities done? Am I feeding my child? Am I getting him to and from school? Like, am I paying my bills? You know, am I getting my actual work done? Am I still showing up for myself in a way that is healthy by showering and brushing my teeth and going outside once a day? And all of those things were checked off the list. I had to consider it a win. And you should too. Sometimes we just have to go back to the basics and forget about the list for a while. This one is great. Perfectionism is one of the biggest predictors of burnout. Why? Why, girl? Because nothing ever feels good enough. Wow, what a full circle moment. Constant self-criticism, unrealistic expectations. You don't actually celebrate your wins. You move the goalpost. Oh, are we all just like, yes, fucking Hail Mary? Like, I feel so seen right now. You do. Like, we need to spend more time celebrating those wins. Like I just said, the win is nothing is actually wrong. You've paid your bills. You're showing up for the people in your life. You're prioritizing your nutrition, your sleep, your goals. And then you're going to get pissed off because you're self-criticized because you didn't do the extras. I think sometimes we don't give ourselves enough credit. And that statement is so clear. We do constantly move the goalpost. Stop moving the goalpost, bitch. Give yourself a win is a win. A win is a win. And then it takes us to emotional burnout. This hits hard later. Once the burnout has already set in, it's been there for a while, you haven't even actually discovered it yet, and you're just like, oh, I'm tired, I'm going through the motions, you're criticizing yourself, you're like, why do I feel this way? I just need to do these 3 more things. And then the emotion hits. Type A people are great at suppressing their feelings until they're not. And even for someone like me, I feel like I'm pretty vulnerable and pretty open. But this last couple of weeks, I remember feeling like I had, like, I'm trying to collect my thoughts. I remember feeling like, why the fuck am I sad? Why am I crying? Like, I felt like there wasn't a reason. And then I also just remember feeling like lonely, you know? I'm like, damn, does anyone even care? Do people not care? You know, like, why do I have to go out of my way to like feel supported, and like people don't check in on me, and just kind of continuing to go down this spiral. But it can also show up in other ways. It can show up as irritability, numbness, anxiety, loss of motivation. Like, I used to be so driven, but now I just don't fucking care. I think we can all relate to those things. The irony about burnout is that it actually reduces productivity. It lowers your performance, reduces focus, and impacts your memory, brain fog. So the thing that type A people fear the most, the control that we don't want to get rid of, is actually falling apart behind the scenes. And it is exactly the death spiral loop of what the burnout is doing to you. You have already lost control. You're already not showing up the way you want to show up. You're pulling fucking teeth to get anything done. And then you're trying harder and you're just digging. Grab a fucking shovel, bitch. Grab a shovel and start digging that hole, because you're about to lay in it. We've gone through the reduced productivity, the identity crisis. You often, feel like your success and your achievements are tied to your goals and how you're showing up for yourself. But like we talked about before, you just have to stop removing the goalpost. You go back to the basics and think to yourself, like, if I did nothing today that was outside of my responsibilities as an adult, would I be okay with that? Can I be okay with that? And can I consider that a win? The basics at the end of the day will keep you in line. And then you just have to do one thing at a time. That's what I did with myself. I'm like, okay, I have a busy work week. I have to lash. I'm just going to lash, and I'm not going to think about anything else. I'm not even going to open up my computer. I'm going to be okay with the fact that the podcast isn't going to get done this week. And I have to be okay with that. I have to give myself grace. As long as I get to the gym in the morning and do my work that pays me money, I have to consider that a win. And then next week, I'm going to do one thing, Like, you just really have to go back to the basics. And I wish I could, like, I am preaching to the choir. I am literally preaching to the choir, girl. I am the choir. It's like, I have friends that will say like, oh my God, it's so annoying. I like heard you in my head the other day. And I'm like, bitch, me too. I heard me in my head the other day, like, coach me, being like, this is what you have to do. And then I thought to myself, wow, that is so annoying. That's so funny. I really want to go over some of the things that you guys wrote in on how to cope with this burnout, because this is one of the things that I was like struggling with over the last couple weeks. Is a lot of the things that people said to cope with burnout, I was already doing, and it was giving me no relief. We'll go over some of them, but just off the top of my head, I was crying. I was letting myself cry. I was moving my body, getting outside. I was still going to the gym, and none of those things were taking my mind off of the way I was actually feeling about my situation, where I was, and what was going on with me. And the only thing that I feel like took me out of my head was listening to podcasts, which is someone else's problems, someone else talking, watching reality TV, which I was doing a lot of over the last couple of weeks because it's just like someone else's drama, not my own. And then crafting. I love crafting. I spent an hour and a half, started a project that also was a project that needs to get done within a limited amount of time. And that, in that moment, was like the first hour and a half for like 3 days that I was out of my head. So I think crafting is a great one if you guys are like into that. I don't know. I mean, I'm going to EDC. I have like 3 outfits to make and I have 5 weeks left. So I want to go over now some of the ways that you guys cope with burnout. I was so happy that everybody wrote in. I know I mentioned in the beginning of this episode that I think this is the most engagement one of my polls has gotten in a while, girl. It's like pulling teeth with some of you. If you're listening to this show and you follow me on Instagram at Tatum Zoe with 3 E's and you are not engaging in the questions, girl, I'm coming for you. I see you. Actually, no, I don't. I don't see you. I don't see you engaging in the questions. That's exactly why we're about to have problems. All right. This is some of the ways that you guys cope with burnout. Breathing. That's a great tool. Wouldn't work for me. This bitch is too in my head. I got to get myself out of my head, you know? Sleep, smoke a little doobie, or read until you fall asleep. Works every time. I always forget about smoking weed. Prayer and gratitude lists. I do like the gratitude. You know, it's hard to be anxious, or there's like, I don't think you can be anxious when you are grateful. So writing a list of the things that you're grateful for, recentering yourself in gratitude, and really like pulling your perspective away from, you know, the chaos that's in your head and realizing like, you know, life really isn't that bad. The only thing that changes is our perception. Not much has actually changed. The tasks don't change, the goals don't change, but our perception does. The way we are thinking about what is going on is where the change is happening. So course correcting that is a great tip. I don't know if you guys can hear my cat. He's literally yelling. Someone said, today I threw my fucking laptop at the wall. Got a little irritable, girl. Throwing the laptop at the wall is crazy. You know, you gotta buy a new laptop. That's funny though. Therapy, sleep, PJ days, crap TV, and yoga. Those are all great tips. At the point that I was at, I could not sleep any longer. I just was like, I need this fatigue to go the fuck away and get the fuck out of here. A lot of people said sleep. It's hard, I think, at some points when you've already slept so much. It's like, I was like so tired of being tired. And that was like that was like adding to my downfall. I'm like, I am not this person. Like, why is this happening to me? And I'm like, I just want to feel like myself again. Someone said, put my big girl panties on and get back to work, bitch. Make the mundane magical. I love that. So it's like something small that makes you feel good, whether that's like a craft, like mocktail, or going on a walk and like putting in your favorite, your song or set, or like doing something fun with your friends, putting on your fancy pajamas and doing glam, doing makeup, like making the small little things something that is like so much more than what it is, like really making it intentional. I love that. Meditate could not be me. Get a massage, do something I enjoy, switch up my routine. That is a good one too, but hard for me personally because I feel my best in my routine. So I think if we're talking about type A girlies, switching up the routine when it comes to burnout, instead of maybe like going to the gym, maybe you're doing something like going to yoga, or you're booking a dance class. I think those are probably similar but good options without kind of like actually changing and course correcting your whole routine. Someone said mushrooms. An enlightened experience, you know, you might need it. Although if you're like really burnt out, you might just end up sobbing the whole time. Not sure. Someone else said snapping. Snap. Get your mind out of it. I like that. Soak up some vitamin D. That's a great one. You do feel better when you go outside. I can attest to that. I'm in the tanning bed. Don't come for me. A vacation, girl. I wish I could have just been like, you know what? I feel like shit. I'm gonna get the fuck out of here and go sit by a beach somewhere. And someone else said cry, complain, drink. I'm not sure if I would go into the drinking. We don't want unhealthy habits. You know what I mean? That could also add to the downfall. Someone else said I have a whole legit day or two of laziness and rot in bed all day. I think another tip that no one actually said is like stop doom scrolling and get off your phone. It's so hard, but like when you feel like you can't do anything else, it feels easier to just, oh, let me see what's going on. Let me see what the people are doing. But in reality, you just end up feeling worse about yourself because you see and you compare yourself to what all these other people are doing, the videos they're making, the content they're creating. And maybe this is just me, but I'm sure you guys could understand in a way of your own. And it actually makes you feel worse. Put the phone down. Don't wake up and immediately pick it up. Okay. And at the very end of the day, I'm here for you, girl. Okay. I'm here for you. I want to hear from you. We're going to get back to our regular scheduled programming here soon. I am doing this new thing where I am trying not to apply pressure on myself, and I'm not 100% sure if I'm ready to be back at doing weekly podcast drops. However, I'm going to do my absolute best. I feel better when I make these commitments and put out the show every week. And I was really having so much fun with our position of the week. I think I might make that a series on Instagram too. You guys got to let me know if you've been watching the podcast this year. I've been doing positions of the week, and I think I should like turn that into a series on my Instagram. Let me know in the comments. I usually start the show with 3 wins, and I want to know your guys' wins over the last week. So if you've made it this far and you're listening to the show, drop some wins. Like I need a little love and support. I would love to hear the beautiful things that you guys have going on, and I read them all. I comment back to all of them, even the rude ones. If you know, you know. Okay. So I will keep you posted on the show. Tag a friend, subscribe to the podcast on YouTube or Spotify. If you're only subscribed to one, go subscribe to the other. Help support me by engaging on my stuff on Instagram. If you're not following me, it's Tatum Zoe with 3 E's, the same on TikTok. And I feel excited and I'm proud of myself for getting this done. But let me tell you, it's taken 3 actual days of me recording this. Like this, I don't know if you've noticed like the lighting or some things around the bedroom have changed, but I started this, did a little bit, and then I had to walk away and I had to fully get ready in the same outfit and come back and record to make this happen. Like pulling fucking teeth, even though it is something I love to do. I'm going to feel so much better about myself, and I'm so proud that I got this done, and I'm excited to be back and hear from you guys and connect, and we'll just go from there. So stay tuned. Happy fucking Monday. We did it, girl.
Are you still talking? Girl, stop talking.